Bandari Maritime Academy is expected to play a significant role in the country's blue economy because it is going to be the supplying machine of the marine engineers, the pilots, and what have you, in a bid to unlock this critical sector. In the last 1 year, this institution has been given significant attention in a bid to make it modern and to update its status. And the question is, how is the institution readying itself to take up the challenge that is ahead of it? Tonight on Inside Government, we talk to the chairperson or the managing director, and if you like it, the CEO of Bandari Maritime Academy, Francis Muraya. Thank you so very much indeed for your time and for joining us here.
Thank you.
Look here, I mean, since 1980, when, Bandari College was established, I mean, there was some sort of a lull in the sense that we didn't have much, that was coming out of this institution. And in the last 1 year or so, I mean, you see heightened attention being given to this institution. Why is this the case now?
Bandari Maritime Academy, Bandari College then, was established in the 1980s by the Kenya Ports Authority to build skills that would enhance efficiency on port operations. And therefore, very little interest was given to other sectors other than improving the port operations. However, in the government's development agenda, MTP3 of Vision 2030, the government identified blue economy as a strategic area of economic development. But there was quickly realized that there was a serious shortage of skills in this sector, and therefore this informed the development of the academy, so that it was going to be the focal point in the development of skills that would promote the blue economy.
And in the last 1 year, I mean, we have seen, Bandari transitioning from a college into an academy. And so what exactly does this mean for this institution?
What this means is that, one, is that the academy is now an institution on its own. It's a state corporation, separate from the Kenya Ports Authority. It has its own management, and it has a board of directors. And therefore, it can be able to set an agenda for itself without looking back at the Kenya Ports Authority. At the same time, because of that new status, it can now be able to attract exchequer funding. The academy has been empowered with a legal notice, which is a strong registration to ensure that it focuses on training specifically for the blue economy as a center of excellence. Because of that new focus, the academy has been able to acquire training equipment that addresses critical areas in the blue economy. We now have 2 training boats, and at the same time, the academy is also strategizing to collaborate with institutions both in Kenya and internationally to bring in skills, resources, and equipment that are going to train for sea transport. And these are specifically in the areas of marine engineering, nautical science, those are the pilots, training in port operations, both for Kenya and the region, because as a center of excellence, the objective is to develop skills that will build capacity, not just for Kenya, but also for the East African region. At the same time, the academy is conducting research, is empowered to conduct research for transport both at the coastline and also in the inland waters. The academy is also gearing to support water safety by training coxswains across the coast and in the inland waters. Identifying areas that will exploit tourism through commercial diving. As a matter of fact, we are in the process of developing a curriculum for commercial diving, because commercial diving will explore the whole range of training, even for activities at the sea, ship repair, mining, etc. We are also gearing to increase the number of courses that will enable employability at sea. It's important to note that to be employed international shipping lines, we must comply with the International Maritime Organization requirements because these are international waters. In the past, the Academy was only able to offer 4 to 5 courses, and Kenyans had to travel all the way to Dar es Salaam and other foreign countries to acquire those courses. But the Academy is gearing to implement upwards of 52 courses. Important is also to note that the Academy is actually empowered to establish campuses across the Republic. And we are doing research to establish the needs of the different counties in this country, especially those border water masses and rivers, to establish what their needs might be. Because Bandari must be able to take these services closer to those populations.
Yeah.
Of course, Bandari may wish to do so much, but within the high expectations that we have, the government is trying its best to provide the required resources to ensure that we're able to move on.
You are able to move on. But, I mean, when you look at the new expectation that has been placed on the shoulders of the Academy, I mean, it's quite extensive. But all these, boils down to facilitation, in terms of, legal frameworks, in terms of, funding, from the exchequer and so much. And so, with these enhanced responsibilities, what is expected to flow your way in terms of frameworks and in terms of funding?
The Academy is in the process of developing a bill that is going to capture the whole spectrum of the blue economy and how the Academy is operating through a legal notice. But in terms of funding, the Academy has made its proposals to government through the normal budgeting process. And our expectation is that to be able to efficiently establish the facilities required and also train the large numbers that are required and meet the expectation of government, we would appropriately need almost 2 billion Kenyan shillings. We have been receiving support from government through the budgeting.
And 2 billion shillings is it on a fiscal year basis or?
That is for the critical infrastructure that is required in terms of engineering workshops, in terms of medical science workshops, laboratories, administration block, and we also need extra simulators, full mission simulators that will be able to train both engineering and the nautical. The simulators are very expensive. The current one that we have cost Kenyan shillings 200 million. So you would find that internationally equipment.
And this was when?
And this was about 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
It was acquired by the Kenya Ports Authority.
So yes. Today you'll be talking about almost 230.
230 or even more. In fact, the mission, the full mission simulator that we intend to use as we talk is with the Kenya Navy, who we are discussing to collaborate with as we await the Academy to acquire. At the same time, the Ministry of Transport is also in discussion with several other institutions, other countries that may be able to build facilities in Bandari, so that this is going to support what the Kenya government may be providing. But honestly, we seriously need infrastructure in this academy if we are going to make a change. Importantly also is that we do require a traineeship. A traineeship is fundamental because employability at sea requires that the engineers and the deck officers must have undergone a certain minimum sea time hours. Without that, they cannot be employed. In view of the fact that we don't have many ships that are registered in Kenya, then that becomes a very serious challenge. But fortunately, again, the government was able to get into an MOU with one of the international shipping lines, MSC, Maritime Shipping Company, to be able to provide this facility for our students, not just for Bandari.
This is for training purposes
this
only.
Just for training purposes, so that they're able to.
How much would a ship that you need cost the government?
We've been trying to establish, and it is upwards of 500 million.
500 million shillings.
Upwards of 500 million. Just for training.
But of course, this is achievable, right?
Some of them are very expensive. Yeah, that's achievable.
You know, for a country that is building an oil terminal, to the upwards of 40 billion shillings. So one can argue that 500 million shillings or even 1 billion shillings, is within the reach of exchequer funding.
It is.
Are you in discussion with Treasury to ensure
we have submitted concept notes on 5 key infrastructure projects for the academy, and that's one of them. We also have provided the marine laboratories, marine engineering workshops. We seriously need an administration block. We need a firefighting training center. The one we have is just for basic safety. We need a more advanced one. So these activities, these facilities are very, very key. And if they are provided, I can assure you that the academy will start giving out hundreds of youth are employed. I can tell you that in the last 1 year, over 400 youths who obtained basic safety training here were able to obtain employment with the Mediterranean Shipping Company. Which
and they're working now?
They are working. They are working. Yes.
There is 2,000?
Now there's part of 400 of them.
The 400 of them?
The 400.
They are already employed now?
They are already employed. Of course, because of the COVID-19, some of them may have come back. But already we have started engagements to train more. Just in the last 1 week, we were able to take about 30 through that training to enable them again to obtain employment.
And you're saying that the whole plan is to have about 2,000 seafarers being churned out of Bandari Maritime Academy at any given time. So these will also call for the expansion of your infrastructure right here. What are the plans? Because the Bandari that was constructed in the 1980s was not constructed to accommodate 2,000 students at all.
The academy is strategizing on several spheres. One of them is to open campuses across the Republic so that we can also be able to train without the Kenyans having to travel to Mombasa. But the other one is to collaborate with other training institutions which are Tibet nature. And this is in the spirit of what we refer to as a recognition for prior learning. It's some training in Bandari to convert this person into somebody who can work in the sea by providing the specific training that relates to working in a ship, training on the basic safety, and for welding underwater, for example. In fact, that now is a very fundamental issue for Bandari. You realize that those who are working in the shipping, the cruise lines, were trained in Utari and other training institutions.
Yeah.
But they have come over to Bandari and they have been empowered to be able to work in the sea by acquiring the minimum qualifications required by the International Maritime Organization. So with that qualification, then they are able to employ in the sea. That is going to speak to the numbers, the large numbers that we are talking about. So Bandari does not intend to do all the training within the boundaries here, because it's not possible. So the expansion will be seen in terms of campuses, and it will be seen in terms of recognizing prior running with the other institutions that we shall cooperate with, so that they also buy into our curriculum. When we develop our curriculum, we shall share it with other institutions, and they also be able to train towards that. That the importance of training by Bandari is that it is training for employability. It's not training for the sake of training.
Yeah.
We shall train and focus basically in the areas which we will be able to empower our people to be employed, our young people to be employed.
And you're talking about, opening new campuses, in the country. And when you look, at this country, there are a lot of water resources that surrounds us. You're talking about Lake Turkana, you're talking about Lake Naivasha, you're talking about Lake Victoria, you're talking about Lamu, you're talking about the port of Mombasa. Are there areas that you have set your eyes on that this is where we want to be in the next 3-4 years?
We are, thank you for that. We are focused on counties that border water masses. Talking about Kisumu, you have mentioned, Lake Turkana, talking about Nakuru. We are talking about even Baringo, Lake Baringo and Bogoria. Because the focus is not just with the transport, it's also exploiting what is in those water masses. So those are the areas of focus, but not also forgetting that we have some man-made water masses. We have the Masiga Dam and others. In some of the countries out there, those water masses provide very interesting sites of tourism, which are aspects of the blue economy. I have had a discussion with the county government of Nyandaro to one point, and they went to understand how they can even make an exploitation for economic purposes of Lake Albosot, which has the advantage of being salty and fresh water, even the same time. And they wanted to understand how can we be able to use this for economic advantage. So it is the responsibility of Bandari and the respective state, our mother state department and ministry, to now be able to conduct research and be able to advise those institutions. So there would be need, in fact, to have some of these campuses, even within the areas where we do not have the very large water masses that anybody else would be talking about, because we do have some localized interest which can also be supported. We also realize that issues related to boat and shipbuilding have not been properly trained in this country. So by having campuses or areas to train with in those areas, we shall also be bringing that training closer to the people. And they also provide employment opportunities, because boat building, shipbuilding is a big industry in other countries.
And you see, when you look at 1980s, to early 1990s, the shipbuilding industry, was very vibrant, especially here at the coast, and not just far off from here where we are. I mean, if you go to south, to southern eastern, Seco, if you like it. You see the amount of work that used to be done there. I mean, there's some sort of revival now. But one of the biggest questions and one of the biggest challenges that they have been having was qualified personnel, as ship welders, okay, as engineers, to work to design ships and this much. And so, what role are you expected to play, in ensuring that Kenya does not only become a shipping hub, it also become a shipbuilding hub within the region? Because, I mean, when you look at this trade, you see the number of ships, that are passing around here, they definitely need repairs, at some point or the other. And so, how prepared are you to deal with that role?
That's a very, very, very pertinent issue. And Bandari, alongside other training institutions, are on the pathway to establishing training institutions and industries linkage framework. And definitely, as you said, SECO is very, very key. In our discussion with some of these institutions, including SECO, what has come out is that we need to engage very directly so that we are able to identify the needs of the industry. So this coming together of the training institutions and the industry is going to provide the platform of what the actual needs of training in that area. Because before we venture into the training, that information is very important. And therefore, we are in the process of developing that linkage between the industry and the training institution to be able to get the exact targeted areas where we must train in leadership building. At the same time, those institutions will play a fundamental role in providing the internship and attachment areas for the academy. And therefore, we hope that through that, we'll be able to come with a number of shipbuilders.
And when you do what we call scenario analysis, any negative ruling towards, that deal between, MSC and Bandari, and the government of Kenya, how will it impact on your operations going forward?
I would indicate that, in fact, Bandari is, as an institution and the ministry, especially led by the State Department, is in discussion with several others. It's not just MSC, with several other institutions that may also be able to provide the same facility, because when you look at the number of students who are in the training on maritime skills, from Jomo Kenyatta University, Moi University is also training. We have Bandari, could also be having several others. The number is large. So MSC alone will not be able to handle that. So in as much as as it is important, I think the government is not just inclined to one area, but definitely the impact would be heavy on us, because a discussion had already been entered on that. Yes.
And you are midway.
Yes.
In those discussions.
Exactly.
Bwana CEO, as we wind up, paint for us a picture of Bandari in the next 5-10 years.
Our view of Bandari, and in fact what we are now finalizing within the strategic plan for Bandari, because that is the process we are in. We're just finalizing the process. Is that Bandari will be a source of hope for our youth in this country. Bandari will be able to train, not just physically, by face-to-face interaction, but also through online systems, so that those courses that will not require the students to come over, they'll be able to study them at the comfort of their homes. Bandari will venture into all aspects of the blue economy that will support the exploitation of the blue economy entirely. We have resources in the sea in terms of biotechnology. We have mining, we have gas. We have the shipbuilding. We have tourism. So we see a situation where, when we mention Bandari, then we look at the whole spectrum of economic activities in this country. Remember, Kenya has, as a country, has exploited most of what is available in the mainland. And therefore, the opportunities that we have are in the sea and the inland water masses. We must focus our attention to that. And Bandari, as a center of excellence, is going to set the standards. It's going to provide the roadmap. So that is very important, and that's where we want to see ourselves. We are going to have campuses across this country. We are going to have collaboration with other training institutions here and internationally. And we are going to have a situation where students who come to Bandari will be assured of experience at sea to ensure employability. That's what we see Bandari.
We wish you all the best, Bwana CEO, and we look for a Bandari Maritime Academy of the future as described by you right here. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Well, we've been discussing the future of maritime training in Kenya, and you cannot talk about these without having Bandari Maritime Academy, at the center of everything here. We'll be talking to the acting CEO of Bandari Maritime Academy about the role that the new institution is expected to play in enhancing the maritime industry in this country, as well as the exploitation and the tapping of blue economy. My name is O'Brien Kimani. This has been Inside Government. Thank you for your time. Bye for now.